Cascante. I am based in Costa Rica, and I work at the organization called Restless Development as a senior youth collective coordinator. Yeah, so this is an interesting question. I think um, in the work that I do, I am already kind of in this world, but not featuring and not taking like a specific leadership position. But my part in this world is kind of making sure that the youth voices of the projects I work in are heard. So currently I work at a project that it's about digital human rights in 4 countries around the world, including which are Colombia, Vietnam, Ghana, and Kenya. And so through this project, diverse people, young people around the world are working through participatory action research in their countries around topics that have to do with digital rights. And then they use that information um, as a mean to do advocacy in their countries and influence decision makers. So these young people also in the project are part of the governance structure, thus directly including those voices at the heart of all of the decisions in our project. So yeah, my part, I already see it as a promoter of those youth voices, diverse youth voices, and in the little ways that we can strengthen in their leadership skills, so that then they can go to their decision makers and hopefully be heard. The main recommendation is listen. I think that's the main recommendation for any decision makers right now. I think policymakers need to listen to the diverse young people that are part of their communities, and really take into account those voices, those opinions when they are making decisions. Then the second recommendation is investing and funding in really understanding the implications that the digital future has on the lives of all of the people. So we do know that the digital era has brought like a big gap between the people who have access to technologies and who don't. Um, so this gap needs to be, hopefully erased so that everybody has equal access to technologies. Um, and digital rights are something that it's very complicated, and we might not know exactly what the implications of the use of technology will have in the future of many young people right now. So we need to really invest in understanding all of the different communities that are a part of this world, and thinking about how the decisions that we make will impact them and their lives, especially when we know that some groups will not beneficiate from the use of technologies or data that we gather through technologies, etc. So it's really important to understand what is happening to the communities around us, and so policymakers really need to understand and do research and go to the communities and realize like what's happening in their lives. So that would be my recommendations. This is a very interesting question, and I chose it because when I thought about it, there were so many technologies, even when I was back in university, or even when I think about high school, there were so many technologies that already existed when I was part of the educational system that we didn't have access to. And I think there is a huge difference between the people in the majority world and the people in the minority world, and the access that we have to technology and to learning tools in general. So I think these technologies already exist. Like I remember when I got to university, there were so many like softwares to do amazing things, but my university didn't have licenses for these softwares. So there's so many softwares, and just even databases that it already exists. Like some people have access to them and some people don't have access. my answer to this question would be more about making sure that there is access, equal access to all of these technologies that are already being invented. I don't, maybe I lack imagination, but I think there's so many that has been already invented that I cannot even think what I could invent. It probably already has been invented, but the access to it is very, very, very unequal when we think about different universities that might not have like public universities that might not have a lot of resources to buy licenses. One license can needs to be shared among all of the students. Meanwhile, in private universities that receive a lot more funding, they might have a license per student to use these tools, technological tools and software. So for me, it's a matter of making sure there is equal access in education for all the students, and even going to thinking not even about university, like what about people in kindergarten, the children in kindergarten, or like in primary schools. When you have a child from a rural area that doesn't even have access to a computer, meanwhile in other parts of the world, a kid who's 3 years old already has a laptop and a tablet and access to phones. Like when those two children get to school, they will already have a huge digital divide. So how can we make sure that we kind of bridge that gap? This is a very tricky question, and one which I find very interesting, because even me as someone who consumes so much information, like I get overwhelmed by the amount of information that we find online. And that is sometimes that is positive, because of course it's great when we see, like for me as a young feminist, I love to be able to see when a country that I've never heard of has like a breakthrough in like women's rights. It's very nice to be able to hear when good things are happening, so that it's amazing that we can share in real time what's happening from someone around the world, from the other side of the world. So that in terms of like positives, I think that makes me very happy, be able to connect with activists all around the world. It's a great thing. And I think it helps our mental health when sometimes in activism or, being an advocate for whatever we are doing, when we hear about other people's wins, it also helps us in not losing hope. So in that sense, like it has a beneficial impact on my mental health. But then the same goes for the negative side. We have so much information, and we can be so hopeless when we hear about war conflicts that are happening right now, and it feels like there's nothing you can do. And you are like consuming this information every day. On a daily basis, you are looking at violent images that are real, and it's important to understand and to know that this is happening, yes, but then there is so much, it's just overwhelming. Very difficult to deny that access of as a parent, as a teacher. I think it's very, very difficult to have control over what young people see online. So for me, what we can do, as adults, as parents, as teachers, as whatever role we have around young people, is more about discussing and having a constant dialogue with youth about what they can do with that information. So make sure that we teach them how to know if they are consuming information from a reliable source or not, and then just giving them all the tools and resources that they need, so that they can deal with that amount of information that they're getting every day. And that's not easy. I don't think I even have the answer for myself. I know that, but I think it is our responsibility. It's our responsibility as adults to make sure that young people have all the resources to deal with this with this overwhelming amount of information that they're receiving. To say that those, I think we're also all learning. So be gentle with ourselves and with each other in the fact that we don't have all the answers. But there's so much space to grow together and to learn together. And yeah, it's not just a matter of an opportunity, but it's also our responsibility to learn more, to be more informed about our digital rights, and make sure that our voices are heard in this discussion, even though it can sometimes be, uh, as you said, like too much and way more than what we can process. But it's also, as digital citizens, it's our responsibility to be a part of the conversation.